And welcome into another edition of Face Off here, the Lacrosse Show on the State Champs Network. My name is Baligian, along with the coach, the head man, of course, at Orchard Lake St. Mary's, Coach Durham. Coach, another fantastic week around the state in regards to this great game of lacrosse. A couple of dandy matchups. I know two of the best teams in the state got together. Brother Rice made the trek out to Forest Hill Central by all accounts. That was a fantastic game. Clarkston Lake Orion got together just last night, as a matter of fact, as we tape this on a Tuesday. They had a great game. Boy, we've seen some dandies this season already, Coach.
Yeah, the Rice Forest Hill Central game is interesting because I think I was talking to Andy Shira a couple weeks ago. They were just starting to get all their players back. A couple guys were injured. Some were not ready to go yet. And so they finally, I think they got everybody healthy. And it showed. It showed in that game. It was a pretty darn good game. Rice getting the best of them. I think it was 15-12. But still, I mean, those are the two best teams in the state of Michigan right now. And it's just, they're just going to, both those teams are just going to start rolling a little bit here too. And then we'll talk about the Clarkston game. Clarkston Lake Orion, what a dandy. We talked to Ron Hebert last week. He's a magician when it comes to like adjustments and things. And Brian Kamiskas will tell you, hey, that guy continuously makes adjustments throughout the whole game, gets his kids motivated to play. It turned out to be a dandy. But one of the things Clarkston does have, they have a great face-off guy. I know they won a majority of the face-offs that game. And, when you have possession of the ball, most of the time you're going to get the best of them. And so Clarkston, I believe, won 14-11 against Lake Orion. And they're in the lead for the AOA. So, that's a big deal for their league, for their seeding. It could be, it's just getting down to the wire here. We're almost halfway through the season, or we are halfway through the season with a few more league games left. And so we'll see what happens.
It's interesting. One of the teams that you've been talking up is Detroit Country Day. And I don't want to be Mr. Negative here. In regards to your team, Orchard Lake St. Mary's, you knocked off Oxford. You faced that DCD team, and you've been consistent even before the season started. You say, hey, look out for these Yellow Jackets. I guess my question, Coach, after seeing them up close and personal, how good is this Yellow Jacket squad?
They're so well balanced, and they're young. That's the scary part of it. Their defense press, they're always on ball. They pressured us all over the field. We grinded. I thought we played pretty well for the most part, at least in the first half. It was 5-3. We scored a goal at the end at the time regulation and a half to make it 5-3. And then they got a little ahead of us. They won some draws. They got some momentum. I think they scored 3 goals in 50 seconds. That's going to kind of deflate you a little bit, but my guys never gave up. We ended up losing, I think, 15-8, but, Country Day is a very well-coached team. Chris Garland's got them going. He's got a lot of young kids on that team, really good, solid defense, really one of the best attackmen, one of the best players in the state. Caden Daly, he's on our top 10. They're stacked, and I think not just for this year, but overall for the years to come, they're just going to keep loading up. But they're one of the better teams that we played.
And you know what? On cue, why don't we talk about some of those better teams out there? One of the things that we do is we like to put out kind of our own top 10, if you will. Coach Durham works hard, diligently on this. Not only does the guy do a great job coaching Orchard Lake St. Mary's, but also working on these numbers. Let's start with the boys' side. Who do you got this week, Coach?
I think the top 5 kind of just stay where they're at. They all won. They all played, pretty good, tough schedules. You got Brother Rice, Heartland, Forest Hill Central, 1-2-3. You got CC and the Country Day. The team that's starting to make some waves, I'm really looking forward to their tough part of the schedule coming up this week, and that's Forest Hills Eastern. Tony Buggiano, who is former, I think, alum of Eastern. I know he played for the Northeastern team back in the day when they were unified. A really solid player. He is now the head coach there. I know him kind of because he taught in Birmingham. Really good guy. He's leading a great team. And East Grand Rapids is right behind them, who just continuously get better every week. And then, Clarkston beating Lake Orion. They jumped them into 9th. And then, Brighton, Lake Orion, I think, are just tied for 10th. They're both good teams. You can't knock them out. On the girls' end, it's been a kind of a couple mix-ups, but not anything that we haven't seen. Forest Hill Central is still playing really well. I have Country Day right behind them, and then Forest Hills Northeastern. The thing about Forest Hills Northeastern and Country Day, they each played each other twice, and they've won one and won one. So, or they're 1-1 against each other. So that's kind of where I'd leave with them. The second and third, you can even make them both tie for second, whatever you want to do. Grand Rapids Catholic Central is playing really well. Rockford's right there. Heartland is playing. They're leading the KLAA. And then you got White Lake, who's surprising. My wife teaches there. She talks to me. So, oh, yeah, those girls are playing pretty well at Lakeland. So get them on there. And then we have Schimpke's Mercy. You know, they're playing real well. Then we'll line up with Bloomfield Hills and EGR at the end there. But the girls is very competitive, very, very competitive.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. All right, it's time now for our coaches spotlight. Always a pleasure to talk to some of the great coaches of this great game all around the great state of Michigan. Our guest today, the head man of Farmington Hills Mercy. Let's welcome in Coach Stephen Schimpke. And first of all, Coach, really, really appreciate you taking the time for joining us here. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Sean. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No, really appreciate it. Hey, from your vantage point, one of the things that we always talk about before we talk about this team is, you know, the growth of this game. And this game has really exploded in the last 10 years, especially out, you know, in, I guess I can say our area, Farmington Hills, Livonia, Novi, Northville. It's really, really exploded. How do you see it, Coach?
Yeah, no, the same way. I mean, I grew up at a fun time. I was really lucky. One of my best friends growing up, his dad was the sixth grade coach at Cranbrook, where I went to middle school. And so I got to stick my hand really young, fourth grade. And then at the time, no one was really playing that young. And, you know, then when I got to middle school, I ended up playing for Coach Greg Durham, a Michigan select team he had. And to see the growth from back then till now and has been phenomenal. And a few years ago, transitioned into the girls' game. I'm raising 3 daughters, and so I wanted to make that switch. And yeah, I think the sky's really the limit, and where we can take the sport in Michigan.
All right, Coach Durham, let's start right there before you start talking to Coach Schimpke. What kind of player was this guy?
Oh, he was awesome. He was a really solid 2A midi. You're talking about playing with Mexi, right? Was that who you're talking about?
Yeah. Tom Mexi I grew up with Brian, and so I started playing with Tom when I was third, fourth grade. Yeah.
I mean that's a long time ago. It's like the beginning of my coaching kind of career when I was in Birmingham, and no, he was great. I mean, I coached against him as a player because when I coached Birmingham youth, and then when I went to when I took over Michigan Select, Steve was just a great person. Like I loved having him on the team. He played 2 years for us. We went out to not Vail, but Denver that one season, that one summer, and we played a bunch of teams. And the kids really got a lot. And I think that was really the start of the growth for the boys, where we got that was really kind of the first travel team that really kind of ventured out and played. Yeah. We played teams from Colorado, Long Island, Hudson Valley. And that's just the kids got really good experience, and there was a lot of great kids on that Cranbrook team. So,
yeah, and to Greg's credit, I mean, you hit a point in the sport as it's something you do in the spring, and then it's something you really love and you start doing more year round. And that was for sure that kind of pivot for me is, playing with the team over the summer, going out of town for the first time. That's when you really kind of gets in your veins and stays with you for life. So, thank you, Greg.
No worries.
Coach Schimpke kindly joining us, the head coach of Farmington Hills Mercy. Hey, let's talk about your team. I know Coach Durham said this is a top 10 team all day on the girls' side. What can you tell us about this 2023 squad?
It's a great group of girls. I mean, we have had a tough week. So we played Detroit Country Day last Tuesday, and then went out to Grand Rapids to play Forest Hill Central on Saturday. So went into those games 3-0, and now we're 3-2. Really talented, really well coached team. So nothing really to be ashamed of there, but highlighted some things for us to work on. We did graduate 10 seniors last year, which is a big deal. About 8 of them were starters. But we're fortunate to have depth, athletic depth. What we don't have We don't have 10, 12 year-round players, but we have some really great athletes that are kind of growing into the game, and mixed in with 3 or 4 players that do have their stick in their hands year-round and are really talented, really committed lacrosse players. So it's a good mix. We're about 1/3 seniors, 1/3 junior, 1/3 sophomore. So good healthy balance there. And if you look at our scoring distribution, it's kind of spread across those grade lines too. And so it's off to the good start. And we're kicking off really league play. We have 1 league game in, but really that goes full speed this week, starting with Cranbrook tomorrow night, Wednesday night. So looking forward to kicking that off.
Steve, real quick, do you have like a really good philosophy? Like, I think you're kind of with where I'm at. We're playing those tough teams, like those Forest Hill Centrals, like those East Grand Rapids, like Country Day. Do you feel that it's like the iron sharpens iron kind of thing, or you're just going to keep better and hopefully strive yourself through the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't, I know there's, you got to look out for your record in terms of seeding. You're getting those top 2 seeds, but it doesn't matter where you're seated if you're not prepared to go against the best. So, as long as I'm here, we're gonna schedule tough games. We had to play Country Day the day after spring break, and so that's reality. You got to learn how to play tough games in tough environments, and you learn a lot as a coach too. I'm still, this is only my second year coaching the girls game, as a head coach. And so to go against the really great coaches, I learn something every time. So it's worth doing.
So what's the biggest difference from you playing the boys game and the thing that you take from the boys game and add it to your coaching repertoire, coaching the girls game? Like, how did you fix that? How did you change those philosophies?
It's a great. First of all, I'm still doing it. First of all, I'm still changing. It's the little things, right? I mean, the defense jumps out the most, right? Between shooting space is the obvious one, but even the 3-second rule, fundamentally, it just changes the way you play team defense. The flow of the game in terms of how substitutions work. Again, it's just not the same. You don't have horns. You don't have as many. Really very few dead ball kind of opportunities to get to change personnel. So it's the little things. And again, you learn, obviously, the draw, 8-meter shots. I mean, it's all, the X's and O's of how you run an offense and how you set your feet for defense. And that's fundamental. It's the same as boys lacrosse. It's the same as basketball. It's really athletic, team sport fundamentals. But there's a ton around the fringes I've had to adjust to. I'm still adjusting to. Lot to learn still.
Coach, we talk about the passion around the state and how this game is growing. In particular, on the girls' side, I know you mentioned you have daughters. Coach Durham has a daughter. This is really one of those sports when it seems to grab you, it grabs you hard, and we're seeing that amongst girls all over the state.
Sean, it is such a cool sport. I mean, I was like every other idiot boy growing up who didn't give the game a ton of respect and saw all the whistles and just didn't take the time to understand it. And I had a younger cousin who played at the time Division II for Lindenwood. I went out and watched her college game, and I had at the time my 2 youngest were born really young, and watching that game, it just totally flipped my perception. I realized how unbelievable of a game it is, how fast paced, how when it's played well is every bit as entertaining, if not more entertaining, as the boys of the men's game. If you watch Division I on TV, it is awesome. I mean, you watch the playoffs, the regular season, it really doesn't matter. It is an unbelievable sport. We have really great athletes playing it, and it's just again the sky is the limit. If you're a great athlete and you're a girl, pick up a stick, start playing. We need more great athletes playing the sport, but it's awesome. It just is.
Before we let you go, we would be remiss if we didn't ask you about your upcoming schedule and games that maybe people can keep an eye on and, perhaps go see some of the good things going on with your team. As you mentioned, pretty good mix for this Mercy team. You've got some sophomores, you've got some juniors, you've got that senior leadership. What does your upcoming schedule look like?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we play in basically a 3-team league, which sounds a little funny, but it can be a lot of fun. So it's us, Cranbrook, and Marion. We'll go against Cranbrook Wednesday night. We're playing at the Hawk, former Farmington Hills Harrison High School. That'll be our home game. We go to Skyline on Friday, and then we come right back to play Cranbrook again at the Oval. I love playing at the Oval. That's where I played, the Cranbrook Oval, their home game. And then we go right into another Marion game, and then shortly after we enter our 3-team little Catholic League playoff. So there's, between us and Marion and Cranbrook, we'll have 2 to 3 games each, and they're always fantastic games. It's great to come out and see them. They're always high intense games. So, and then we prepare with a couple other games. We have Bloomfield on the schedule. We're actually playing Bloomfield at Lawrence Tech, which is really cool. We're playing Brighton in Brighton, and then next thing you know, we're going to be in the state tournament. So it all happens pretty fast.
No doubt about it.
Wow.
Coach Durham, anything for Coach Schimpke before we let him go?
No, one of the best kids I've coached. It's a great honor to have him on the show. We appreciate it, Steve. Hopefully we can get you back again, and good luck to your girls the rest of the season. Hope you guys get there far. All righty.
All right. Thanks, Coach. It's great seeing you. Sean, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Steve Schimpke,
No problem,
the head
Steve.
coach at Mercy, kindly joining us here on Face Off on the State Champs Network. And, of course, voting is underway for our Warrior Player of the Year. Can't thank our friends at Warrior Lacrosse enough for being the big sponsor behind this. StateChampsNetwork.com. It's easy. Go vote. Coach, we say it all the time. You at home, have an opportunity to vote your guy into our Final Four. The online winner automatically gets the bye to the Final Four. And then, of course, our committee talks about the players in our Final Four, and we eventually decide who can wear the crown. And we can't thank our friends at Warrior Lacrosse enough for making this happen. But, Coach, already some conversations. No joke, folks. We were exchanging some texts just before this show talking about some people that may be playing their way on this list. We don't want to mention any names now, Coach, but certainly this list is fluid, and there are some names that are going to be playing themselves on this list.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully after the vote next week, we can put some new guys on there and keep it going, and then get some more kids involved, and the more the merrier, and things change throughout the season. Kids get better, kids play better, they play against good competition, and they stand out, and that's what happens.
Go vote for your guy, whoever he may be. Once again, it's really easy. Vote early, vote often. StateChampsNetwork.com, and you can be a part of this. Coach, before we bid adieu, I'll wish you good luck. I know what a busy week this is for you. You have a big Catholic League matchup against DLS that's happening. Again, we're taping on Tuesday. You've got a game this very afternoon. You've got a big home tilt against Clarkson, and then you head down to Toledo St. John. Just some of the big games to keep an eye on this week. Yeah,
I think those are pretty good games, but one of the things that's happening in Detroit is they're having like a Champions of the D. And I think CC and Brother Rice are hosting teams like St. Xavier out of Cincinnati, Hamilton Southwestern or Southeastern out of Indiana, Loyola out of Illinois. All these teams are really, really good programs and some of the best teams in the Midwest. So if you get a chance, go check some of those games out as well.
I got to mention Novi Northville. That's always a big tilt.
That's a big rivalry. You know how that is.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That's a big game coming up on the girls' side. And as you mentioned, Loyola and Rice should be fantastic. Hamilton and Rice should be fantastic. Great games this weekend. Coach, before we bid you adieu, I wish you and your squad luck this week. Any final thoughts as we wrap up another show this week?
Let's just hope that the weather gets a little more consistent and gets warm.
What, the boys don't like playing in 42 and sloppy rain? No,
I think we're just tired. I think we're tired of it. We're just ready for we're ready for the nice stuff.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks as always to you, Coach Durham. Thanks to everybody behind the scene, John and Kevin, and really a cast of many people that put this together. Thanks to our sponsor, Warrior Lacrosse, again, and most importantly, thank you for joining us wherever you may be. For the coach, Greg Durham, my name is Sean Baligian. Until next week, so long from State Champs Face Off.
State Champs Face Off is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Be curious. Make magic. Visit ltu.edu. Face Off is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, a proud sponsor of the MHSAA. Warrior Lacrosse, Michigan-based, Michigan-built. Visit warrior.com. The Detroit Athletic Club Foundation Male and Female Athlete of the Year Awards. Who will be this year's award winners? Find out live June 5th only on the State Champs Sports Network.